Welcome back to our 4th International Week 2019 too. We thank your assistance and support during this event, and we want to tell you that in the chairs at the auditorium you will find some QR codes in order to do the registration, and you will participate for some gift from our part at the end of this talk. Now, in order to continue with our agenda, our next guests are Now, we are going to present our next guest, our Professor David Valencia Villamizar and Juan Amador Saavedra. David Villamizar is a lawyer and PhD in history from National University, teacher and researcher at USTA from 2001. His main interest is to connect cultural analysis of law with cinema, literature, and arts in general. In the case of Professor Juan Andrés, he is a lawyer from Universidad Santo Tomás, and his work areas are teaching or academy, research, criminal law, civil law, disciplinary law, and procedural law. Now we welcome them to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm really happy to be here, accompanied with one of my very best friends, David. I have to say thank you to the university to let me address this event once more. The International Week is really important for us, so we can say our ideas in a different language that is our mother language, which is Spanish. I will say that this is not a love song, like Rammstein said. This is not a love song, and this is not my mother tongue. So I will try to don't make a lot of mistakes in English in order to be clear. So today we are here to talk about a wonderful movie that is one of our best in interest, which is Transpotting. And why is Transpotting? Because it has a really important speech that across the culture during the 20th century and the 21st century, with the zeitgeist of intercultural anxieties of spiritual bankruptcy of consumerism. So we will talk about choosing, we will talk about how choose is really difficult in our times. It's a really important word because it supposes that we have the ability to choose what we want, but we will see during this presentation that choosing is not too easy in our times. So I will say, the first movie starts with the speech that talk about choosing, and I will try to say it in order to see it from Colombia and how it applied here in our university and our way of life. So the movie starts with this: choose life. What is choose life? Choose life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a big fucking television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players, and electrical tin openers. Choose good health, low cholesterol and dental insurance. Choose fixed interest mortgage repayments. Choose good health, low cholesterol and dental insurance. Choose to start a home. Choose your friends. Choose leisure wear and matching luggage. Choose a three-piece suite and hair purchase in a range of fucking fabrics. Choose DIY wondering who the fuck you are on Sunday morning. Choose sitting on that couch, stuffing junk food into your mouth. Choose rotting away at the end of the all, pissing your last in your miserable home, nothing more than an embarrassment to the selfish, who could perhaps just spawn to replace yourself. Choose your future. Choose life. And I want here, like, David helped me to explain what it means choose on that time and what it means choose now. So I will give you the word.
Okay, we are in love with this movie, really, and this possibility, the false freedom that the system is selling us. Are we really free to choose? This speech is a development of an article we've written according to a research project we presented in an article called Choose Life, the dark side of social networks, thinking a little bit on this freedom, the possibility to open or not to have a profile in some social networks, and what's behind that. By dark side, we mean the corporate interests, the terms and conditions, all this legal arrangement behind the fascination of the screen, behind, we have these videos, these short videos. This is the trailer of the film we are commenting. Okay, so the dark side, by dark side we mean all these legal or even soft legal arrangements that are behind what the corporations make with our data, with the images we post in Facebook, in different social networks, and what happened to them, and especially this techno-fascination device, this techno-fascination strategy to get us sucked into the screen all the time. I mean, we have been investigating, we've been researching this for a while, and we spoke about addiction, the psychology of addiction applied to the way we use social networks. That's why we ask as a special favor today for you to use the cell phone right now. If you feel the need now to take out your cell phone, to check out your post, to see what's happening in your Facebook profile or in WhatsApp, the status, please do it. This is important for us. We encourage in our classes the students to feel at ease and to do it without restriction, because that's part of our research. So the first thing I wanted to say as an introduction was what we mean by this dark side. Well, it sounds a little horrific, like a horror movie, but by that we are trying to balance all this bright side, positive side, the smile strategy, and all this affect and emotion production as a part of a commercial strategy of the corporation, like Facebook, for example. And as a part of this research, we present this article. We've been talking about choose life. What is life in this context? Why Danny Boyle, this British filmmaker, who now we have his new film yesterday, which I recommend. It's about the Beatles and the song, the famous song by the Beatles, Danny Boyle. But before that, he made these Trainspotting films. The first one in 1996 and the second part 2017, and he's trying to mock, to make a parody with irony about these possibilities the system is selling us, and how we feel, especially how we feel about this supposed freedom in the world of the social network. We speak in the article we're presenting about the face world. You can have a Facebook account or not, a Facebook profile or not, but the idea is to connect it with a logic, a social logic, like a device, a little bit in Foucault's sense of panoptic, the panopticon. That's the name Foucault. Michel Foucault many years ago spoke about this social mechanism of power. And we think that this mechanism has changed his sign. His sign is not about intrusion, it's not about to feel inside a jail all the time, to feel all the time watched, but especially to feel cool, to have as much likes as possible, to have as many friends as possible, and to live this kind of plastic world of happiness, of artificial happiness induced by the corporation. Is that we don't want to go again on the story of Trainspotting. These are junkies, drug addicts, heroin addicts, which are struggling in their 40s. They all have a middle-age crisis. Some of them has been in jail, like Begbie, and they react against this false happiness that the system is selling and proposing us. And the perverse side of it is that this freedom is sold as the only choice. The freedom as only choice. The freedom to click okay when we are opening a profile and we have to accept terms and conditions. I don't know if any of you have ever read the terms and conditions. A small, very tiny letter in which the company is telling you that they are going to manipulate, sell all the data and the images as they please. So there is a serious legal issue there, but the main focus of our research is the cultural side of it, the way we feel and the way we produce our identities, our feelings, our dreams inside the logic of the social networks. So Juan, with this introduction.
So the important thing now to know is, are we really free to choose? So some philosophers said that choose is the alignment between thought, will, and action. But we will watch here that is not so true because we have a lot of irrational behavior. So the act of choosing is really, as David says, tricked by corporation because now the technology is too advanced that target us in ways that we can't imagine. For example, the scandal of Cambridge Analytica. But the important stuff behind the Choose Life speech is about the pessimism about human experience, the insatiable human desire to degrade and stuff. That's why they are always denying the act of choose. And they deny the act of choose like taking heroin. They don't like to be a good citizens. They don't like to act as a good citizens behave. Look at that guys running away from police after doing a robbery. So that's why it's really important for us to say, when Renton said at the end of the monologue, choose life, and this exactly moment he said, but what do I want to do a thing like that? I choose not to choose life. I choose something else. And he has no reasons to choose something else because he said like, consumer in society are really insane and I don't want to choose. Why I have to choose a washing machine, the car, the electrical tin operators? Why I have to choose that if I can choose heroin? Because all the people think that choosing heroin or choosing drugs is a really easy way to see the life, but it isn't. They forget the pleasure, they forget all the stuff that is behind drugs, but in a really interesting way to see the world. But how is different now from 1997? It's really different because we don't have now compass displays, we have an iPhone, we have a new kind of technology that at that time was really important for every human being, but now are obsolete or transformed by technology. But why? We were talking about this irony about these numbers. I read a really interesting article about how it was composed by some theories about the wheel of Ixion, you know? I want maybe David can explain better that because the wheel of Ixion is a comparison made by Schopenhauer to describe the never-ending will be satisfied our desires. And that's why it's always talking about the stuff, you know? The starter home, the friends, the matching luggage, the leisure wear, and a trippy suit and higher purchase in a range of fucking fabrics, all the things that we have to choose, but don't make ourselves happiness. It's the really interesting way to see happiness, because if we don't see happiness, because as David Lynch says, happiness lies within, and what Renton tried to say this is like, anything that comes from outside will be from our happiness, and he chose life at the end. So I want to really be careful in this point, because the second part of the speech in 2017, it means 20 years ago from the first movie. It's really interesting because it implies, and we wrote an article about it, specifically when Renton says in his speech, choose an iPhone made in China by a woman who jumped out of a window. and stick it in the pocket of your jacket fresh from a South Asian fire trap. Choose Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and another 1,000 ways to spare your bile across people you've never met. Choose updating your profile. Tell the world what you had for breakfast and hope that someone, somewhere, cares. Choose locking up old flames. Desperate to believe that you don't look as bad as they do. Choose live blogging from your first wank till your last breath. Human interaction reduced to nothing more than data. And that's what we're talking about. Human interaction reduced to nothing more than data means that behind that, there are a lot of algorithms and a lot of technology that are able to predict how we act. And that is the exactly point when we say, are we really free to choose? Are we really free to choose the iPhone? Are we really free to choose Facebook? Or are we in the wheel of fiction always repeating what it happened and always being manipulated by some powers that are more softer? We have, with this book, with the new book, is the third article that we wrote together. Where is that? It's the third article that we wrote together, and it's a really interesting way to denounce how they not only the corporation, because the governments are also doing that, is using our data to do whatever they want. So I think this is a really important stuff to talk. And what do you think about? I want David maybe to explain what is the real meaning of the wheel of fiction in this.
Thanks. Precisely, you were naming, quoting Arthur Schopenhauer, and through him I would like to mention the time measure, the addiction, the techno-fascination on these social networks through a matter of time. What's time about? What happened with time? The wheel of fiction is a myth, a Greek myth, ancient myth about a guy trapped in a repetition, in an endless repetition. A Sisyphus, for example, there are other cases in Greek mythology. So we are in a loop, in a feedback loop, in an endless and infinite feedback loop. What the analysts have called the infinite scroll, when we just are in our screen, we are in a never-ending process of seeing, of being shocked by news, by certain images, whatever. I just realized Juan has updated his status in WhatsApp right now, right here, in real time. And are you broadcasting this? Are you broadcasting his? That immediacy is what are we talking about here? The superficiality of a time. We call it in the research tempus ex machina, which is a Latin expression, ex machina or ex machina, meaning out of the machine, out taken from the machine. A mechanic, almost automatized time in which nothing ever happens, really. Nothing new happens, because there's so much to see. There's so many posts, so many friends, so many likes. It's a quantified self. That's the name the researchers have coined. The quantified selves. How many likes have I in a day? How many friends? Everything is quantified. And behind this logic of the image, I mean, this fascination with the image, like in a big publicity spot, a big TV commercial. We live inside a TV commercial. That's the idea. All this data, everything we do with our cell phone is being stored and sold by this big corporation. So it's a matter of time. That's my main point now. It's a matter of time. Tempus ex machina means a time absolutely frozen, even still, which is in a standstill, which doesn't, it didn't move. Doesn't move, sorry, because we are trapped all the time in this infinite present, as in a shopping mall. Because we think that there are two types of architecture: physical architecture in a building, especially like this, Dr. Angelico building, which we can appreciate very clearly the way this device is functioning. This not panopticon, as I said at the beginning, that's Foucault's term, but pornoptic, P-O-R-N, pornoptic, according to some intuitions. The difference will be that we don't suffer this domination. We don't suffer the CCTV, the cameras which are surrounding us all the time. We didn't suffer that, but we enjoy it. We enjoy being watched. We overexposed ourselves in social networks, as we do as merchandises in the shopping mall. So the physical architecture has to do with the labyrinthine design. Labyrinthine, like we are living in a maze, and the initial purpose of the maze in Greek mythology, the maze, the labyrinth, for example in Creta labyrinth, you go inside the labyrinth, you suffer, you feel at a loss, completely lost. But this principle is taken by the shopping mall to make enjoyable, like a pleasure, the way, walking without way, losing the way, whatever, in order to induce a consumer attitude, in order to transform us into hyper consumers. That's in a physical level, but the labyrinth also is expressed in a virtual, in the cyberspace. That's what we're talking about. The cyberspace is also a labyrinth, and the principle is everything is visible in this labyrinth, because we are all the time updating our profile and showing, as Juan has just done. You are updating real time. Do you know how many likes are you having right now? Can you quantify this for us, please? It's important. As many likes as possible. That's how we construct our identities inside the pornoptic. And we say pornoptic because the way we look at things is corresponds, is related to a pornographic view, a pornographic point of view, a pornographic approach to reality, in order to see beyond and try to control everything. For example, inside this building, according to the closed the television circuits which surround us, all these devices, is not only by the naked eye that you can see and control everything inside the building. You can check what is everybody doing right now in every floor of the building by the naked eye. But at the same time, you can see what the cameras are filming exactly. And this control is what we call pornoptic, because corresponds to this physical level in the building, but also in a virtual space. In the virtual space where everybody becomes a spy of everybody else. We are all spying ourselves, and we just know we don't longer suffer this watchful, this big brother gaze, this gigantic eye upon us, like the eye of God, like the eye which sees everything, which encompasses everything, which controls everything, but we enjoy it, and that's why we are so worried, because this enjoyment we think is false, and this enjoyment has a dark side, which we are trying a little bit to put some light into it.
And that is true, and we can see this in some discourse that are in the streets. I don't know if you look at the new Transmillennials that said we are new, we don't have so many emissions, but we have surveillance cameras in it. It's a new advantage. No, they said that it's an advantage to have surveillance cameras in everywhere, but it isn't. I was thinking that we will give this speech in a smaller room. I had a piece of paper that someone gave me yesterday about the propaganda of Miguel Uribe, and he says that he wants to apply artificial intelligence in the cameras that he will put on the streets with facial recognition. He will try to put together all the databases that we have now in Bogota, in the police stations, and try to predict the behavior of criminals and try to do what in Europe they are doing, but I think it's really impossible. But the populism that it has, the technological populism as punitive populism, it's really worried about. And that's why these kind of discourses that we see here in Choose Life has a little bit, or not a little bit, a lot of reality in when we are out on the streets. So I'm really worried about it, but I want to come back to the discourse, to the T2 speech, in order to watch the video and try to understand it better and try to put some kind of precisions on that speech. So I will put the video in order to do that, but I want to, in a difference of the video, which is a monologue, I don't want to, this talk will be a monologue. If someone wants to ask something, because this is not a monologue of David, of me, because it's there is a little time and the scenario changes sporadically, and it's really different to talk here in a small room. So I wanted you to talk with us and ask about it, because it's not too much time to explain all the things that we have to say here. Here is the book. The name of the book is Tendencias Actuales de los Derechos Humanos y el Derecho Internacional Humanitario en Colombia. And here is the article that we create of this. It has not only the T2, T1 speech or monologues, it has also really interesting analysis of one of our favorite series in these things about surveillance and the right to privacy, which is Black Mirror. I don't know if you have seen it, and it will be really nice to you to read it and maybe talk about it. So I will put the monologue.
Then he likes himself, I think.
Right, but if you're not...
Simon is not...
Let's put this first.
a good person. But I like him more than he likes himself, I think.
Right, but if you're not... If there's no physical aspect to it... relationship, I mean, you want to be like, wasting your time.
What's Choose Life? Simon says it sometimes. He says, Choose Life, Veronica.
Choose Life. Choose Life was a well-meaning slogan from a 1980s anti-drug campaign. And we used to add things to it. So I might say, for example, choose designer lingerie in the vain hope of kicking some life back into a dead relationship. Choose handbags. Choose high-heeled shoes, cashmere and silk to make yourself feel what passes for happy. Choose an iPhone made in China by a woman who jumped out of a window and stick it in the pocket of your jacket fresh from a South Asian fire trap. Choose Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and 1,000 other ways to spew your bile across people you've never met. Choose updating your profile. Tell the world what you had for breakfast and hope that someone somewhere cares. Choose looking up old flames, desperate to believe that you don't look as bad as they do. Choose live blogging from your first wank to your last breath. Human interaction reduced to nothing more than data. Choose 10 things you never knew about celebrities who'd had surgery. Choose screaming about abortion. Choose rape jokes, slut-shaming, revenge porn, and an endless tide of depressing misogyny. Choose 9/11 never happened, and if it did, it was the Jews. Choose a 0-hour contract and a 2-hour journey to work, and choose the same for your kids, only worse, and maybe tell yourself it's better that they never happened. And then sit back and smother the pain with an unknown dose of an unknown drug made in somebody's fucking kitchen. Choose unfulfilled promise and wishing you'd done it all differently. Choose never learning from your own mistakes. Choose watching history repeat itself. Choose the slow reconciliation towards what you can get rather than what you always hoped for. Settle for less and keep a brave face on it. Choose disappointment. And choose losing the ones you loved, and as they fall from view, a piece of you dies with them, until you can see that one day in the future, piece by piece, they will all be gone, and there'll be nothing left of you to call alive or dead. Choose your future, Veronica. Choose life.
Okay, if someone has some commentary or question, I think this monologue so ironic, so difficult to grasp. In reality, the disappointment of the protagonist with the option the system is giving and selling us. So I don't know if someone wants to say something, or this is not precisely a friendly auditorium for interaction, for face-to-face interaction, but I don't know if someone, nobody. Choose not to say anything, choose to stay quiet, choose to fill the list and never care about what the teacher is really trying to communicate. You choose whatever you want. Choose living and like this double bind, this double profile in which on the one side you're trying to pay attention and to show the teacher what he's saying is meaningful, but you don't really care. Please.
Well, I don't really think it's about what you choose. It's about what you intend, what you know about life and where you want to go with it. And I mean, we are evolving all the time. You know how we change for a phone that has an fingerprint ID to a phone that now scan your face and you can unlock with your face, and so on and so forth. And it's real about how these changes are good or bad and how we adapt to them. So, for example, in Europe, since every new cell phone has already a Face ID scanner, and people are concerned about their privacy, about their face privacy, and how they manage that information. About what you were talking about with the speech of the president of the alcalde, was it? And so, what's happening with that? In Europe, they already are concerned about that because they have cameras all the way, and the cell phones are recording them all the way. So what are you doing with that information, you know? And I mean, yeah, social media could be as repetitive and as that endless scrolling you were talking about, but it is also about you choosing not to do that and use social media to learn more about life, learn more about what you think is good for life. For example, I don't know, Tesla. What Tesla is doing for the world, what is this kind of companies, what they're trying to do for you, and just to grab those things and just use them for the good. You know, what good is to be in this conference and checking Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever, and not taking the good parts of it. You know, so it's that about. I mean.
Thank you. There's a debate here with some teachers of the Faculty of Law, a debate about how good or how bad are these companies really making in our lives. The technophilia or technophobia we express, for example, in a conference like this. Here is with us Jorge Quintoro, which is a teacher. We have been in some debates. He clearly criticized the emphasis we put on the dark side, and for example, according to the algorithm way of managing, administrating, and making sense, trying to make sense of the big data is in an insane amount of information which are producing every day. That's why I really congratulate. I really want to say thanks to the people which are right now, and all the conference has been looking at their cell phones and has been checking or whatever they are looking. It doesn't matter. It has to do with the conference or not. It's an attitude and it's real. You are not forced to put off, to turn off your cell phone. You are using it right now, and that's made me very happy, because that confirmed our hypothesis about techno-addiction, techno-fascination. That's nothing new, and beyond the good or evil, beyond this duality, the idea is to check out the social condition of production of these technologies, of this way of thinking, not only the technology as such. It's not just the device we have in our hand, this little tiny panopticon in your pocket-sized panopticon, which is, and that surrounds it, but it's a social logic behind it. For example, when you write a WhatsApp message, in Twitter, whatever, you are not only expressing freely the way you say the things, and what you are capable to do is control. There is a format. In the way the company allow you to communicate, allow you to be happy, allow you to be recognized because you have so many friends, because you travel during the weekends, because you ate at a fancy restaurant or made a fancy trip, whatever the situation. But it's a social logic, so we're trying to research beyond good and evil, beyond the debate, sorry to name Professor Toro's approach, because he thinks we are exaggerating maybe, and this is a social logic, is more complex than this, his position. But this algorithm-guided society, this algorithm empowerment of the companies, where we as users have almost no power in front of the mega corporations. Facebook, who can control Facebook? Facebook is a lot more powerful than any nation state in the world, even the states, of course, not only Facebook, but all these companies, and how we react to this worldwide domination. That's a little bit, and it's important to see the point beyond being technophobe, as someone can imagine. Maybe is that you don't know how to deal with these social networks. Maybe you're old-fashioned, my friend. The technology is going beyond you. It's not that. It's a research about, as I said, the historical and the cultural consequence beyond what the same companies are selling us, and how good they present themselves in our lives.
So the real thing is try to align, as I said before, the thought, the will, and action when we use technology stuff. Because as Marshall McLuhan said in the 1970s, he said, we don't have to be the technological fools. And a technological fool is who think that the technology is not driven by a force that try to give us something. It's like technology is not neutral, never is neutral. Because we used to think that technology is neutral and we decide how to use it. But if we look closely, when, I don't know, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram was created in a way of being. And we now say Mark Zuckerberg in the courts, in the European courts, or in the courts in the United States. And we see how responsibility they have for the things that they are doing. And the thing is, we have to choose to think about technology critically. As David said, we are not ludites, because some people say it like that, you are really talking about the bad things that technology has. Of course, we are living in the 21st century, and we can't be living in the 19th or the 17th century, and we can't deny how the technology is in our lives. So this is one of my best or my favorite episodes of Black Mirror, which sheds how we are using it, how we give more importance, as Schopenhauer says, is the representation of us instead of what we are or what we have. That these are three totally different stadiums of human existence. Why don't we appreciate what we are instead of what we have? Representation in the smartphones, we want to have the last iPhone, but as you said, have a facial recognition, and we don't think about that because we we think that it is really good, that it's not with my fingerprint, it's not with my face, but what are the implications of that in the real world? And we as lawyers have to think about it. And it's really extreme that the things that, and the world that we could live in some years. So it's an invitation not only to say the criticism about all is bad, all technology is bad, you have to come back to another period of the human existence, but now you have to think critically about what are the real implications of the technology that you are accepting without seeing it. The last iPhone went out like 6 months or a year ago maybe, or 7 months ago, and all the people want it, but what do you really want about it? Do you really want all the mechanisms that it has to control yourself? That's really what you want? Do you really want to post what you have for breakfast and hope that someone somewhere cares? Do you really want to publish from your first one till your last breath? Do you want that? That is the really consequence of the really thing that we want to do with our articles and with our speech. So I think time is finished.
Can we finish two more minutes to refer to this clip we are seeing from Get Out, Jordan Peele's film, which is quoted in the article Not Only Nosedive, Black Mirror's chapter. We were seeing some images of it, but this is the way this guy is mesmerized, hypnotized by this woman. And 1 minute, so just to see how almost by magical arts he is sunken. Let's advance a little bit. If you remember the film, his last film is also very insightful, very thought-provoking, very pertinent to this discussion. She is trying to help him to overcome the addiction to smoking, to smoking. But this is the image. I don't know if you can see it very well. I really recommend Get Out is the film, because the reality for him becomes a scream. Sorry. Have you see he's sinking, and all the reality is, sorry, can we? She's caressing with her words, almost in certain, like a lullaby, and all of a sudden he's unable to move, he's unable to think by himself, and he's in this dark place, and all that happens is reduced to a small screen. And the comparison we were making in the context of the film, which is about racial issues, racism in the States today, Afro-American civil rights right now, Black Lives Matters, all this discussion, but deeply we can see this suspended guy in the middle of nothing, in the middle of nowhere, with no really chance to react, and that's the position within we are. Our reality is happening in a screen, like a movie, but actually we don't have, look at his face, any possibility of changing this dark, sad reality. Thank you very much.
Institución de Educación Superior sujeta a inspección y vigilancia por el Ministerio de Educación Nacional.